Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to one of the greatest videos I have ever made in the history of this channel. This video is called The 10 Worst Music Genres. The 10 worst music genres, plus a near-death experience. And if you think I'm lying and just saying that to bring you here, what you're about to see, I have never attempted on the channel before. Please get your cup of tea, get your biscuits, sit down, make yourself comfortable, and get ready for my greatest video of all time. Hello and welcome to this video, and I have to pat myself on the back and say that I've done it again. You know, I've managed to come up with a sort of concept which they'll all be copying. You watch them. The Prog Corner, Scott there, he'll be watching this thinking, what gotta do that now? Barry at Classic Album Review, he'll be copying it, so they're all going to be doing it. Right now, of course, we all know this is a ridiculous thing. As Duke Ellington once said, there's only good and bad music. That's what he said. And he's right, of course. And within all these genres, there's probably bands that I would quite like or maybe like very much. But of course, that doesn't lend itself to a great video. This video is going to be bloody brilliant because I'm going to be able to go through a whole bunch of styles I don't like, incorporating more than just 10 bands. There's probably going to be more than that. Are you ready for this? Because this is going to be a rantathon. A rantathon, I tell you now. I've got them here. I was going to do a bloody review of the new Jethro Tull album. I was just set up ready to do that. Then these popped into my head just like this. Inspiration, divine inspiration. That's what happened. Divine inspiration comes down. Do the 10 worst styles, Andy. What are you playing at? And I'm ready to go. And you can see I've had my coffee. I've had my donut. I've had me a bacon roll, right? My blood sugar's all surging. Are you ready for this? Come on, let's do it. Right, so now these genres might not be standard genres, you know. I'm just warning you now. So some of these are basically they're styles I've made up, but don't let that put you off. There will be something you hate as well. I know what you lot like here, because this is the thing, isn't it? These channels, we've got to cater for, you know, bit of prog, bit of jazz, bit of fusion, bit of classic rock, maybe a bit of metal. You know, some modern prog and prog metal, neo-prog, I don't know. There's all these things, but that's what we cater for here, isn't it? So we know what we like, but I thought it'd be a good idea to know what we don't like as well. And that's what we're going to be doing. So that's what we're about to do. I wanted to say something else before I started. I wanted to get all the stuff out of the way before I started so that you don't put comments in the thing saying, what about this, Andy, or didn't say that? You know, I've got to cover my back, especially when we're doing a rantathon, because it upsets some people. But I don't think any of you are going to be upset by this. I think everybody who watches this channel are unanimously going to love this video, because I do think that these 10 styles that I've created really do cover everything that's wrong with bloody music now. Shall we start off? Right, so I'm just going to kick off. I forgot what I was going to say. Let's just start now. Right, so this is in an order, but, and I remember what I was going to say now, but the last two are controversial. They are controversial. This video has got everything. They're controversial. Don't go sipping to the end now, because you're going to miss loads of fun bits at the front. But I'll tell you, when I get to the end, it's going to be controversial. I promise you. I promise you. You ready now? Have I given it enough of a, you know, are we ready to go? Come on, let's go, Andy. Right, number one. I've invented a style of music called fub, and fubs is an abbreviation, F-U-B, and it stands for fat ugly bloke, and then in brackets with face tattoos. So I believe there's this style that's emerged in modern popular music which could only be called fat ugly blokes with face tattoos, right? And bizarrely, it covers all sorts of different styles of music, all of them wretched. So obviously, in the old days, right, you'd have like a pop star. You know a pop star? I got nothing against pop stars. It all started with Elvis Presley. You know, Elvis Presley could sing, he could move, he looked cool, he had a good physique, right? And he looked a beautiful man, handsome man. And we had singers, didn't we? Female singers, and they, you know, like Shaka Khan. You know, not just one of the best singers in the world, but also a beautiful woman, absolutely beautiful. And that's what I want from my superstars. I don't want ugly superstars. Now, every now and then, you know, someone would emerge with such talent that we would go, oh, let them through. They're a bit ugly. I mean, Bob Dylan's like this, isn't it? A little ugly bloke, really. You know, but you know, he was a bit of a genius. I don't like him so much, but I'm warming to him now. I've got to be honest with Bob Dylan. But I feel that this is the thing with Bob Dylan. I reckon that although Bob Dylan pioneered so much amazing stuff in modern popular music, he's also responsible for a lot of bad stuff and a lot of stuff on this list. And I think that the fat, ugly bloke with face tattoos actually goes back to Dylan. Because I think up until then, anybody who was listening to Frankie Lyman and the Teenagers, right, or listening to, I don't know, Eddie Cochran or whatever they listened to, right, Pat Boone, right, their pop stars were proper pop stars, and Dylan pops out, he can't bloody sing, can he? And he looks like this little bloke with a, you know, bush. He's not that ugly, I'm not saying he's an ugly bloke, you know, but I think what people did, stupid people, and this is the problem, you see, all these styles, they are... And they're designed to trap the stupid person. So you get a stupid person, they're like, well, I don't know much about music, but I like it. I like to buy one album a year, and I stick my stuff on and listen to it. But I can't really tell whether it's any good or not, because I've got no taste whatsoever. So the only way I can tell is that if it's someone's good looking, they probably just been signed because they're good looking. But if someone's ugly, they must be quite good. They must have real talent. So when I look at Rag and Bone Man or Post Malone, I mean, they wouldn't get signed on their looks, so the music must be good. I can't tell whether it's any good, mine, but it must be good. And this is what you get, don't you? And they're also like down to earth, right? I'm thinking, right, if I was ugly, which of course I'm not, I'm a very handsome man, of course, and I'm not bald, because you don't normally have to be quite bald. Face tattoos, you have to have this beard, so you got one of them upside down heads. I'll show you what I mean. I've just remembered I've got this here. I was looking at this the other day. Have you seen this, right? Something for the proggers. This here is Jean-Michel Jarre's album, Concerts in China, right? I bought it. I haven't listened to it yet. There we go. Lovely vinyl album. This video's got everything. I'm even holding up albums. You love that. Now, see that face there? That's like one of those faces that these blokes have, don't they? You can just see it. Now, look what happens if you turn it upside down. It's a nice, happy, smiley face. Look at that one. They don't look like that, do they? No. In fact, that one looks a bit racist, actually. I'm not going to keep it on. There we go. And see that? You're like, sad, happy. It's the great dialectic that I'm always going on. Sad, happy. You have to wait for your eyes to get used to it, don't you? Right? They have those types of heads, these blokes do. I am right. No one's ever said it before, but I'm right, and you know I'm right. You know I'm right. Do I have to carry on about this one anymore? So we move on 7 minutes on this one. Right, so I'm going to move on now. I've got a lot more to say about fat, ugly blokes with face tattoos. I could go on a long time. I might do a separate video just on them. I might rank them for bloody awfulness, right? There's so many of them. But, yeah, anyway, if I was... that's what I was going to say. Come on, Andy, remember what you were going to say. If I was an ugly bloke with a bald head and a beard and a face tattoo, I'd call myself Bin Man. It wasn't worth it, was it? Right, number 2. At number 2, I have got emo rock. Bloody hate it. What's emo rock? Well, it's probably best personified by Linkin Park, okay? Or Evanescence. Oh, I can't even say the bloody word. I love rock. I love heavy rock. I love heavy metal, right? But I'm a bit old, so I tend to like the 70s stuff, you know, and I go up to about the new wave of British heavy metal. I do like the thrash bands. They're very good. And then when we get into the 90s, I like Pantera, you know, and I like Rage Against the Machine, although they're bloody, you know, champagne socialists, aren't they? They can't help it, though. They're posh boys, aren't they? Posh boys. Had it on a plate, really. They got to let you know. But at the same time that Rage Against the Machine came out, Korn came out. Now, Korn are very much like Rage Against the Machine, but they're a bit more mopey, aren't they? At least Rage Against the Machine want to, like, you know, pull down society and enact their revolution that will make it great for everybody, you know, and they do that with gusto and lots of swearing, don't they? And even though I don't agree with their sentiments, I can go along with the bloody, whoa, they get yourself, you know, they're all like, F you, I don't do what you tell me. They're all like that, aren't they? But Korn aren't like that. Korn are a little bit more depressing. And I think what happened at the end of the 90s, right, with all these bands coming out, you got Marilyn Manson come out, you know, he's a bit dodgy, isn't he? Anyway, Marilyn Manson comes out, all these bands are coming out. And, of course, you know, it's heavy metal has always been liked, I think, by a certain, I hate to use a racial term, but white, middle-class teenagers, really. Angst-filled teenagers. And I think, you know, there was a certain point where if you happen to be like 15 years old, you know, and your parents, you know, your dad's an investment banker, and you sat in your massive, your bedroom, in your 8-bedroom house, and you're moping around in there, teenager, what's the point in it all? You know, you go in your ensuite bathroom, you know, and you rub your face with water and you look into the mirror and go, what's it all about? What's the point in it all? Like that. You're all depressed. And you think, I've got to get it, my mum and dad, because they provided with me with all this brilliant stuff and I feel really depressed. And so what they used to do is they go and get Napalm Death and they put that on really loud. And then the parents would be downstairs going, oh, Johnny, I'm very worried about Johnny because, I mean, listen to what he's listening to. I mean, we've done everything for him. Why is he like this? I don't know. I don't understand it at all. I mean, I really wanted him to go to college and become an investment banker like me, but I don't know whether he's going to. I know I'm a bit worried about that. What do you think he'll become? I don't know, probably a drug addict layabout, you know. And so that's the meat and potatoes of rock and roll. I got no problem with it. Got no problem with it at all. But the thing is, record companies get involved, don't they? And the thing is, those kids don't really like that, you know. They don't like that. You know, once they've grown out of that, you know, they've grown up, they'll be back on the bloody dire straits. Like, I'll be on about that in a minute, you know, like their parents. But, you know, there's that rebelliousness. So they get catered for. And what happened was they started churning out bands. Linkin Park's the start of it, where it's rock, but it's not that heavy. It might even have a bit of screaming in, but only on the verses. The choruses will sound like a sort of more of a sort of Eurovision Song Contest song, you know, a nice bit of melody for the middle class, you know, to latch on to. And it will be any sort of soul, any sort of groove, any sort of dirt, any sort of grit, you know. Think of Pantera. Pantera they groove, they're funky, they're like, it's like they've got a little bit of that Texas sound in there. There's a little bit of 38 Special and bloody ZZ Top, which I love. You know, think of Blackstone Cherry. I like them. They're a modern rock band, but they know how to. They just got that bit of soul and dirt and nastiness, proper nastiness. But these emo rock bands, awful. And then there was a certain period that all these emos, right? They would put it on all the makeup, weren't they? And they'd have their sort of really jet black hair. And they sort of took over the goth thing, you know, all the people who like The Cure. And I'm not going to knock that on here. We haven't got indie music on here because there's a lot of it I like. But the Cure fans really used to get on my nerves. And it's sort of Cure fans, but it's not even like The Cure. And they come in and they start wearing all the black. And I can remember it was probably about nearly 20 years ago this happened. And these young sort of waif-like, you know, pale teenage boys mainly, and the girls were there as well. They did it as well, but they're all more closer to like an Alanis Morissette vibe, aren't they? But they then started to get all these tattoos, didn't they? They got all they'd have to have their tattoos. And I remember seeing these 70-year-old lads. Thought, what, they got a bloody armful of tattoos? Because I hate tattoos, right? As you can tell, tattoos are featured on the first two genres here. And this brought in this idea that you've got to be covered in tattoos now in rock music. Right, you know, it's like you're not a proper rocker unless you've got like a bloody old load of tattoos. Right, and the thing, you know why? Because tattoos cost about 10,000 quid. Right, how do people afford tattoos? I can't afford a tattoo. Not that I'd pay for one if I, you know, I don't even know what I'd want. And because that's the trouble with tattoos, isn't it? It's like, you have a tattoo and then 5 years later, it's like, You know, it's got like you got a bloody Celtic ring round your arm. I don't understand. I'm old. This is the whole thing, and this is where we move to number 3, and this is going to be a favourite amongst you. It's going to be a bit contentious because at number 3 I have modern rap. Yes, not rap. I love rap. Right, I'm different to a lot of you lot. I love rap. I love the Sugar Hill Gang. I love African Bambaataa. I love Grandmaster Flash and Melly Mel. I love it. The Message is one of the greatest tunes ever made. White Lines is incredible. Run DMC, amazing. And then Run DMC get together with Aerosmith, don't they? And it's like bloody rap and rock coming together in a jokey form. And then Anthrax get together with Public Enemy. And then you get rap metal, and you get Red Hot Chili Peppers, and you get Rage Against the Machine. But you've also got bloody, you know, Public Enemy, Ice-T, you've got NWA, you've got Tribe Called Quest. I love all these bands. The Roots, you've got Diggable Planets, Brand Nubian, you've got Jazzmatazz. I just can go, I've got a big record collection full of jazz. And that was deep, thoughtful music. Like if you go back to The Message by Grandmaster Flash, it seems like I'm trying to sell it to you proggers who don't like it. But you listen to that, and that's the real voice of Black America there, right in front of you. Brilliant. Going back to the sort of jazz poetry of the Last Poets. Going back to the almost like speech delivery of a Charlie Patton, or even back for the Lead Belly, right? The rap has been there since the beginning. You go back to the Jubilaires, Noah, right? Think about Muhammad Ali. Think about his raps he was doing. He made a rap album in 1963. Rap has got a history and it's incredible. And rap, unlike the music we look at here, the worth and the juice is in the lyrics, right? So a great rap track has a great sample. So it goes back to the history we all love. All those albums I've got linked up there, all the jazz rock albums and prog albums, they're all appeal. I'm going to do a video where I go through all the incredible rap tracks that have sampled prog. Bit of jazz fusion, but prog, because those guys love it. I've worked with rappers, they listen to all that stuff. So rap was bloody brilliant, right? But you've got to understand that the rap is only as good as the rapper. And there's different types of rapper. If you're a Busta Rhymes, you're a virtuoso rapper, which means that you can spin out stuff, but Busta is funny. But he's also got a godlike delivery if he wants to. He can come down like Moses, right? But Busta's funny. So a lot of rappers are very funny and they're cracking jokes, right? And then there's the ones who are deep, like Chuck D, politically deep. And then there's the ones that are spiritual, right? And it's what they're saying. It's what they're saying. And I just feel that at some point, the record companies got hold of rap. This has gone serious now. I'm actually critiquing modern rap because I like rap and then I didn't like any new rap. And I went to a friend of mine who is an expert on hip-hop and rap. He's got a record collection of about 30,000 albums. And he really goes deep into it. So I said, you know, is there any good rap? And he passed on the Kendrick Lamar album To Pimp a Butterfly, which is fantastic and it's a brilliant album. But even he has just ended up, he's dissing Drake. I mean, who the hell's Drake? I mean, it's a swan, isn't it? I'm trying to get the comedy back in because I've got too serious. I mean, modern rap is commercialised pap. There we go. I've got like a white Muhammad Ali then. Right, so it's what most rappers are saying is not that funny, is pretty offensive. It's misogynistic. It celebrates crime. Which I know Ice-T and NWA were doing it, but they were doing it in a way that was truthful. They weren't boasting. It's too boastful. It's full of all the things that really, and I believe in free speech, and I wouldn't stop them from doing it. But don't you think there's a bit of a double standard? You know, I've just had a video demonetized this morning on YouTube. You know why? Because the title was. Because I'm not doing any more politics on here because I've decided not to. So it's called No More Politics and More Pussycats. And apparently that, it didn't tell me because they don't. It's like the bloody Kafka, isn't it, the trial. So that's been demonetised. And I thought, well, that's a bit funny. He said, if you want it reviewed, then do it. So I pulled out the thumbnail and I just changed it to cats because I know how idiotic this bloody system is. And what happens? It's all been put back because they didn't like the word pussycats. And then you can go on to some video that Cardi B or Nicki Menagerie has done, where they're saying all sorts of awful stuff. It's got 1 billion views, and kids are watching it all day long, and my kids are walking down there singing it. Modern rap is rubbish. It's modern rap that is rubbish. And at some point, it's taken in, I think it started with dubstep. It's taken in a vibe. It's like a bit of a dope smokers vibe. And so it's like the productions just goes... You know that thing? Summer gonna hey, something give on hey, demo there, no there. Imagine ladies waggling their bums behind me now. If you could do that, and I'm all up the camera like, and then I'm blowing a big bowl of marijuana cloud is coming out my mouth at the same time, and then we're all sat in a car. Then we all go into the swimming pool, right? We're all in the swimming pool, But it's like, it's a bit, instead of just swimming up and down like you do in a swimming pool, they're pouring like alcohol, champagne down girls' backs and then drinking it, in an unsavoury manner. It's just unsavouriness. I don't like it. Shouldn't it be allowed? We should ban it. They need to ban it all. They need to go back to being proper rappers, where they just wear baggy clothes and just jump around in the street, rapping at you. Right, let's move on, shall we? What have I got next one? Oh, yeah. At number 4, I've got Bank Manager rock. So we've got the kids, they like their bloody Linkin Park. But what are the dads listening to? Maybe the dads, when they were teenagers, they had a dalliance. They had a dalliance with Dire Straits, didn't they? They didn't really like that music because they were at school, they were working hard. They'd been brought up well. I was surrounded by them at school, And they just didn't really like music. But then Dire Straits came out. Not Love Over Gold. That was a bit too much for her. But some of them were drawn in. But then you got like Brothers in Arms came out basically 1984, 85, and Money for Nothing. And here was some rock that these straight types could get into. And then Mark Knopfler comes out and, has a bit of a poke at MTV. Has a bit of a poke of all these rock stars. You feel like going, no, mate, stop poking at who you're poking fun at. I'm not going to have a go at Dire Straits. It's 40 years ago. We'll just move on. Then Sting comes on, doesn't he? Probably because he's in the same studio. They're probably out in bloody Montserrat or something, aren't they? And they're going out for a bit of a sunbathe in between making their albums. And Sting's like, hey, what's he called, Mark? Hi, Mark. What are you doing? And Mark's like, all right. What's he, Scottish or Irish? I don't know what he is. I don't know what he. I don't know. I've never known. With Mark Knopfler, when I've talked about him seriously, I've said he's Scottish, and they all say he's not Scottish. And then I think he's Irish, but he did the tune to Local Hero, and that's in Scotland, and it's confused me. And now I don't know what he is. I'm not going to do an impersonation. It's going to be offensive to both the Irish and the Scots. And I don't want to upset them, do I? So anyway, they get chatted, and Sting's like, oh, I'll come in and sing on that song for you. And he goes, what will you do? He goes, well, what's it about? And he goes, it's about MTV. And he goes, I'll just take one of my famous hooks from another song and I'll just sing that over the top. So he goes, I want my MTV, which is a Don't Stand So Close to Me. Right? And next minute, he's sat there getting a Grammy. Or not getting a Grammy, but he's in the audience waiting to see it for Best Songwriter for bloody Money for Nothing. Right, and this fooled the middle class types. It fooled them. They're thinking, oh, this must be good, and they all bought it, I remember. And then as they grow up, because I've got to get on through this, I've been on this one too long. Yeah, so just finish it off quick. So they grow up, they get their good job, investment banking or bank manager or accountancy or something like that, and they're sitting there working hard, and they get their wife in there, she's there at home, bored, driving around in a big 4x4, and the kids grow up, and the dad comes home from work and he's a bit stressed. And so he goes and gets a glass of wine out, fills it up too much, drinking a little bit heavy. He's put some rock on. But the thing is, he wants to kick out, right? He wants Rage Against the Machine, but he's been trained too much. And so what does he go for? Bachman Turner Overdrive, perhaps. You know, who else could it be? Dire Straits. What would it be in the modern realm? Nickelback, perhaps. Bush. There's a whole genre of weak rock. It's like weak rock. Fleetwood Mac are in there. And right at the back of it, I feels the Lighthouse family's in there. Now, I know this is very UK-centric, so I know the Americans are going, you know, what the hell's the Lighthouse family? Don't look it up. It's not worth it. It's just a really bland band. It's not even rock. But I hate this insipid. It's insipid. I should have called it insipid music. But there's a lot of rock that's in this genre. Stereophonics are in it. There's another one. Manic Street Preachers. They're all starting to come in now. What else? And it's all varied, but it's all bloody weak. You know, I just had a flash of something that things like Star Sailor as well, where people think it's, you know, and Travis and Coldplay started off like this. So there's indie bands in there, but there's proper rock bands in there as well. It's an awful thing. It's an awful thing. And also, some bands will start off not it, and then they become it. So Aerosmith were not it in the 70s, and then they became it in the 80s and 90s. Not straight away. Permanent Vacation had a tendency, you know, but once he did that, every time I close my eyes, Guns N' Roses happened to them as well. Right? And when I put music on like that, I can see the investment banker in his massive house, really annoyed at his life that he's created, with his ungrateful family around him, drinking too much, sat in front of his 13,000 quid stereo system with his eyes closed, you know, looking at his vast vinyl collection, because they become vinyl collectors, don't they? Have you noticed? I mean, I'm probably talking to a load of you now, aren't I? They're going, oh, don't like what Andy's saying now. He's a bit close to the bone, really. But you're all right, you lot, 'cause you like prog and fusion. Because so the thing that's different for you lot is you are that, but you like good music, and that's all this is about. You know the ones, you go to the record fairs, you can see them there. You know exactly who they are, you know. Buying their, 12th version of Boston's first album. Right, shall we move on? Right, at number 5, I have got girl bands and boy bands. Now, this is contentious because sometimes girl bands and boy bands do good stuff, right? So, in the 60s, you had all these bands like the Temptations or Diana Ross and the Supremes. You know, they're girl bands and boy bands. They're up front. They're like a vocal harmony band. You know, I mentioned the Jubilees before, in the 1940s, they invented rap. That's a boy band, that is. You know, Frankie Lime and they're boy bands. These are all boy bands. They don't play the instruments, but they're just up front. The Monkees are like it. They just pretend to play their instruments, you know. But this, for me, was always the anathema to what I liked, which was a real band in a room playing, right? But they've always been there. They've always been there. Now, here in the UK, right, what happened was punk came out in the 1970s. Are you going to really go back that far? And that gives pop music a kick up the bum. And by the time we get to the 1980s, we actually have some really good pop music here. Duran Duran, Culture Club, ABC, Visage, all that early 80s stuff is great pop music. I'm saying I like it, but it's great. Because there's an edge there. There's an edge. Sometimes it's because they're gender bending. Remember gender bending? I'm all for gender bending, you know. I think gender bending's all right. It's gone a bit too far nowadays. But let's not get into that either. But, you know, I think I take my hat off to Marilyn. I think I don't know what I'm talking about now. You don't want to get on this. You said I'm just going to have a word with myself now. Don't talk about it. Don't talk about it. Good. I'm back. Hopefully, you've now forgot about what I was talking about. So we'll just carry on in this vein now. So where was I? Yeah, girl and boy bands. So towards the end, here in the UK, this is very UK-centric. Towards the end of the 1980s, we had this production company called Stock Aitken and Waterman, and they started signing up all these people that were in they started signing up all these people that were in like soap operas, like Neighbours and stuff like that, and Oh, bloody Brummy Dave. He's put a curse on me. Nothing's going right. God, I thought I was going to die. This is God trying to tell me something. He's trying to tell me, no, stop being so nasty and negative on your videos. Or make you die on camera, and then it will say Andy Edwards, the YouTuber that played for Robert Plant in the early 2000s, died today on camera. He choked to death on a fake moustache. Bloody fake moustaches. And it's giving the game away as well now. Spent all that time making that video trying to make out Brummy Dave wasn't me, but now you know it's me because the bloody moustache. And I had to sacrifice Brummy Dave as an invention. He's never going to be on now. You all there think, right, I'm going to have to say this in this video. And those of you who haven't seen it, tough Brummy Dave, right, is me dressed up. All right. I don't want to be here anymore.
Come back, mate. Come back.
I'm going. I tell you right now. Oh, I should have gone a bit earlier, really, shouldn't I?
I knew I shouldn't have got him on. He's a bloody handful, that bloke. This is why I didn't want to bring him on, but you wanted him on. He's on, so that was Brummy Dave.
I'm going.
I enjoyed the video. It's only a
Shut
short
your
one.
face.
I'll try and
You
bring
suck
back another
it.
time.
Okay? And when I did the interview with Brummy Dave trying to prove he wasn't me using split screen technology, there was two types of people here. There was the ones who went along with it, and there was the ones who had to point it out, right? But the ones who had to point it out, you've got to understand, all the ones who went along with it, they were doing that as a joke, right? And the ones that you had to point it out as though you discovered something, right? You didn't get the joke, okay? Right? You got that? Now, I suggest that you lot who had to point out that Brummy Dave's me have spoilt it all, right? It's like the Wizard of Oz, this is. I didn't expect this to happen. I didn't expect to choke on a bloody moustache. I've lost my way now. Of course, this is now a classic video in Andy Edwards' oeuvre. Because even I, when I got up this morning, didn't think of, I know what you could do today, choke to death on a moustache. But it's that moustache choking that's brought out the truth. Now, I suggest you all go and watch The Life of Pi. That's all I'm going to say. Go and watch The Life of Pi and then analyse the meaning at the end of that. And you'll then understand what's going on this channel.
Hello there. I was just editing this video and got to this moment and I realised that some of you might be a little bit confused of what's going on now. And if you are, do not worry. This is very, very complex YouTubing, very clever stuff going on here, and you probably don't understand what it is. And if you don't, it's not your fault. You're probably just not quite bright enough to really be watching my channel at the moment.
Shallow fools that you are. Okay, let's carry on. Girl bands, boy bands, they're rubbish. Hate them. Spice Girls, take that. You know, all that NSYNC rubbish. They're talented people. There's some great people in those bands. They are actually very musical, but they don't get the credit for it, and it actually ruins them. And somebody like Justin Timberlake is actually a very, very talented guy. But and they can dance and sing, and we should actually see that they're talented. That's all I was going to say. All that rubbish. Who cares? Let's get on, move on to the next one. I've had a near-death experience just now. But the fear was I was going to die on camera. I'm really not right now. Andy, bloody hell. I need a drink or something. Is there a drink I can get? You just stay there, you lot. I've got to get over this. I'm going to have a bit of Fanta.
Sorry to interrupt the show in this rude and annoying way, but I just wanted to tell you about a few ways that you can support me here on YouTube and get access to even more weirder and wackier content. First of all, you could become a patron. You could become a free member or a paid up member. I have over 300 extra videos on there, and if you don't even want to become a member, please pop over, because you can access my collections where you can purchase even more weirder and wackier video content. If you want to support me financially with a little tip, buy me some biscuits or maybe some crisps, you could pop over to my PayPal tip jar. I also have a Substack where I have lots of clever, academic and thought out articles where I explain my ideas on art, culture and creativity in a more intelligent way than I do here, plus a whole ton of podcasts. If you want to know what my music sounds like, you can pop over to my Bandcamp. Over there, you'll be able to listen to over 50 albums, and if you want to access them all, you could become a subscriber. And last but not least, if you want to support the wonderful studio where I film these lovely videos, which is actually a charity trying to help people out in the community become more creative, here is the website where you could drop a few pounds or dollars or whatever the currency is in your country in there. Thanks for listening, and back to the show.
I feel like I've got Dave's hair stuck at the back of my throat, and I don't like that feeling. Well, it's got it all, this video has, hasn't it? I feel a bit better now. I feel like I've washed that tainting away. Right. Yeah. No more Brummy Dave. You spoilt it. You've spoilt it by pointing it out. Right? And when I went yesterday, when I saw all that, I thought, they're not going along with the joke. They're too serious. I ripped the moustache off and threw it on the floor. And then as soon as I ventured into a political realm I didn't want to get involved with, and I walked over there, I thought, I've got to distract them with the moustache. I saw the moustache first thing, I thought, so I put it on. God, the world we live in today. At number 6, I have math rock. What the hell's math rock? It's not prog, because it hasn't got all the bloody wizards and people standing on one leg, and, you know, it's not got all the overblownness and wonderful English aesthetic. There's no bloody pixies in the forest. It doesn't paint pictures in my mind of sweet, you know, rustic happenings. Does it? Math rock doesn't, does it? What does it put in your mind? Well, there's lots of odd time signatures, isn't it? And you like the Mavish structure, but they improvise within them. They take them on time signature and they improvise and they go deep into the soul, like an Indian musician battling with the mathematical realm of platonic perfection, but would put pitting against the sort of visceral, guttural emotion, and that's what you get with the Mavish Yorkshire. It's like they're on a knife edge, not the math rockers. They just sit there with their guitars too high up, right? You know, they've been practicing this all together. They all get in the room together. You know, they've probably been playing Dungeons and Dragons beforehand, because they basically, what math rock is clever rock for nerdy kids who can't quite take actual rock music, because if they were to make actual rock music, they might have some females turn up at their gigs, and then the females might come up and talk to them and they wouldn't like it. And so they repel them. They repel them with the complexity. You know, and so they go to rehearsal and they go, has anyone got any ideas? And they go, well, yes, I was thinking today that if you take the number 33, you could divide that into 3. So you could do 3 bars of 11. But if we then send maybe 7 through it, do you think 7 against 11 will be good? Well, how's that going to come round in the 33? I don't know. Well, it's 28, isn't it? So we can have 4 7s and then a bar of 4. 4's normal. I thought we said we'd never get a play 4. If that's true, what should we do then? How about we then play a bar of 3.5 and 1.5? Oh, that I don't mind doing that. So what are you doing again? You're doing 3 bars of 11. You there are doing 4 7s and a 3.5 and a 1.5. But the bass player's like, oh, what about me? What about me on the bass player? Oh yeah, what can you do? Could you put against a 17 against that? This will be really catchy. Oh no, we don't want catchy, do we? We just want to impress people the fact we're clever. Right, I think that what math rockers should do is just not bother with the instrumentation. They don't play anything. It's just like they get 4 mics up and they go in the room and then they argue about something really complex like astrophysics. But of course they can't do that, can they? Because the thing they don't tell you is playing on time signature is not as hard as being a doctor, right? Or learning about astronomy or science. It's not as hard as that. Right, it's simple maths that 8-year-olds do. That's all it is, okay? Right, I know, because I spent my whole life doing it. It's not that bloody hard. What's hard is improvising in it. But they don't improvise, do they? You just play the parts. and then they sit there with the guitars too high. They don't wear that rock clothes. They wear like, I tell you what they wear. I've got one on today. A math rock. This is your math rock shirt. Look, I stole it off a math rocker this morning. Easy to take it was. There he was, playing in 17/8. And I said, I'll have that shirt. And he went, no, get off, mate. And I said, you ain't going to do anything. You got your wimp. Ripped it off his back. Gave him my cardigan. Put it on over the top. He was cold. At number 7, I've got Unwashed hippie techno. Right? I don't mind dance music. I don't mind house music. I don't mind people getting up and going, if they want to. Got no problem with that. Like, no one's trying to make a great statement. It's a different vibe. People go out on the night, they want to dance to something. It's like disco music, it's all right. But there's one, I thought, there is something I don't like about dance music. And I thought, what is it? And I'll tell you what it is. It's here in the UK, when the whole dance thing kicked off, these like crusty hippie types came out of the woodwork. I don't know where they'd been up till then, because they came out fully formed. Right, so these crusty hippie types come out and they get in their camper vans, making the cost of camper vans go through the roof. Now, you can't bloody afford a camper van or a barge, because they like to live on a barge as well, these types. And they go down the skips, they get all their bloody cardigans on, right? They don't wash for about 3 years, and then they went out, right? Don't know how they survived. It was 2 things. Everyone said, oh, they're all on the dole. They're not paying tax or whatever. Everyone will moan about it. But no, because these are all poshies, aren't they? They're all poshies. They're all called Tarquin, aren't they? Or Rufus. That's the types you get. And then they go to these festivals, don't they? Right? They take their kids. Their kids are always in bloody those satchel things they wear. You know what they called? They've got the kid there, all dirty. They're all dirty. They've got little dreadlocks that they managed to get into their hair, right? And they're going around tattooing each other in little bloody tents all around the place. And then they get up and dance. And then what they don't like dance to bloody Orquin. They don't dance to like Gong. That'd be all right then, because they can't take that. What they dance to is this just really insipid techno. And they get coloured things and they dance around like this, like that. And I watch these videos of these festivals and they come down and really off their heads on drugs, they're all stoned out their face and they're walking around like this. And someone comes in, what, you enjoy yourself? They go, yeah, I really enjoy myself. It's so great here because it's like I'm a really free spirit and, it's like I could express myself and be who I am here. And it's such a lovely bunch of people here. It's really great. And I'm just going to go off now and throw up. And then they go off. And you feel like going, of course it's bloody great. You don't have to work, you big nerk. Right. Nerk. Don't know where that came from. Right, now, we're at number 8 now. Number 8 is Americana. It's easy pickings. I've said it before. Right? Now, my hatred of Americana has actually done me a lot of good because, and I'll say it here now, I can't understand what's going on with this Americana thing. I know it's bad at a deep level. It's far worse than any of these other styles because this is insidious. Americana's insidious, right? I've lampooned all these. They're all done in there. They're lying on the ground, bleeding. The life of these genres is about, I've done it, but I won't be able to do it with Americana. It's too powerful. It's too powerful. I don't know what's behind it. Right? You've got the poshies that go and get stoned at the festivals. You've got the poshies that listen to, Linkin Park. They've got all these poshies there. But I feel that the people that run the world are into Americana. That's what I feel like. So I feel like I'm trying to undo an evil plot that exists. I'm into conspiracy theory territory here with Americana. Bear with me. It'll all make sense. I'm making it up as we go. So, with Americana, how can I say it? Well, let's start like this. Because I've lampooned it so often, it's made me go deeper into it. So, the other day, I thought, right, what the hell's going on with Bob Dylan? And so I put the first Bob Dylan album on when he's doing all the cover versions of old Lead Belly songs and, old blues songs and stuff. And I heard this and I thought, oh my God, this is a groundbreaking album. This is where they all got it from. All these rockers all over the world were listening to this. It took them back to Lead Belly and it took them back to, early Delta blues. And then, there's a certain political thing in this. Then he brings the second album out, and he basically, it's not, the music is important, but it's because he's utilised a certain protesting aspect of this minority music, if you could see what I'm on. And he's been able to transmit that into the 1960s for everybody. And so it now becomes the sound of revolution, which is a really powerful thing. And then on the third album, Bringing It On Home, or what it's called, Bring It On, he then brings the electric instruments and basically defines rock music. That's powerful stuff, right? I get that, right? But also, Americana points to lots of country music. And I found myself recently, and I don't know whether I'm getting old, but I used to hate country music, and I nearly wrote it down here. I thought, well, you don't, do you? I was going through my late father's record collection that I inherited, and I was going through all the sort of modern jazz quartet, Chico, Hamilton, and going through all that stuff, and it got best of country music. I thought, oh, my dad was listening to country music, because he listened to a lot of music, my dad did. So I thought I'll put that on, and I put it on, and of course Willie Nelson and all that, we know they're great. But things like Jim Reeves and Kenny Rogers, they're absolutely amazing. Beautiful voices, amazing productions, and songs that tell stories, right? But the thing with Kenny Rogers is in the early 70s, you know, when he's singing all the stuff he's singing, right? Kenny Rogers is a bloody jazz singer, first and foremost. Do you know that? So he's a bloody good singer. The arrangements are incredible. The playing's all amazing. This is not some bloody middle-class bloke with a banjo and a waistcoat on trying to grow a beard. That's not what this is, right? Americana, it's a certain aspect, okay? I don't believe that there is such a thing as Americana. I just don't believe it. I think that I'm being serious now, and this is why I don't like it. It's the real reason why I really pick on Americana. I'm going to tell you seriously now. Because this video has done so much that I'm going to go from choking to death on the moustache to telling you something serious, a cultural observation that could be true or not be true. But this is what I think. The whole thing about 20th century American music is that it was innovative and forward thinking. That the Carter family and Jimmy Rogers were actually pioneering things. And they were pioneering things that were being affected by the recording studio. And this music we see as being old, but it's actually not that old. People are still alive now, just about. I mean, they're in the late 90s, but that were there when the Bristol sessions happened and they recorded the Carter family and all that. Hank Williams, all that stuff. And of course, these musicians are forward thinking. And so as soon as the electricity comes in, they start to utilise that. Electric guitar comes in, the rhythm section comes in, it's jazz and blues. And what it is, it's integration, it's the mixing of things. But now we're living in a thing where everyone's got this sort of fascistic purity. And so you get these middle-class people that have nothing to do with Mississippi John Hurt or bloody, I don't know, Stovepipe, whatever his name was, all these, they're as far removed from Skip James as you could be, but they believe they're being authentic, and there's no authenticity to have. The musicians that they're aping, same with blues musicians, were not about authenticity, they were about going into the future and laying the foundations. And that's what I don't like. It's created this thing where everyone's going, oh, you can't have that, you can't do this. You have your banjo, where it even goes down to how they dress. And when I see some middle-class guy with a bowler hat on his head and a white shirt and a waistcoat playing a banjo, especially when they're British, right, and called the Mumfords and Sons, and they're all bloody, related to the royal family in some way or another, I can't stick it. It's nonsense, and the music's rubbish. And the thing is that we all know that anybody can do what they're doing, but nobody can do what those guys do. You actually listen to what Robert Johnson's doing on the guitar, right? Or Leadbelly. You listen to Leadbelly's voice, you listen to the guitar arrangement, they're not doing that. And there's musicians out there that are exploring that, and they're virtuosos, and I've got nothing against them either. I think it's brilliant. I don't like the fact that these poshies are able to purloin something that's got nothing to do with them and get cultural points for doing it, even though it's the easiest thing to do it in the way that they do it. That's what I don't like about it, and I've nailed why I don't like Americana. That one's in the dust. In the dust, right. So what I've got at number 9? At number 9, I've got classical music. Oh, I'll just let them calm down. Oh, I said there'd be no hate. I said there'd be no hate, but there is, isn't there? I forgot to put this one on. Everybody, you still there?
I know you can't see me. I don't want you to see me. I feel ashamed. But I'll have to explain myself. Can you let me back in? Go on. I know I said classical music, right? And I know it's upset you. Some of you like classical music. But I'm going to come back in and explain my position because it's not as bad as you think. Is that all right? Yeah. Okay, then. I'm back. Oh, he's using all the elements of a YouTube chat video. Do you see that then? Clever, wasn't it? Everything's happening in this video. I just get better and better, don't I? Right? I'm not just better. I'm meta. It's better meta. I'm the better meta YouTuber. That's what they should call me. They should be calling it me. I expect to walk down the road and have people shout at me when I go down to Greg's to get me sausage roll in a bit after this. Although I've just had a bacon roll. Andy, you're putting off actually dealing with the fact that you said that classical music is one of your hated genres. Right. I love Renaissance music. I love early English music. I love Bach, right? And then you go into what is known as the classical period. And this is marked by a change from the religious aspect of classical music. There's two terms of classical music. What shall I call it? We'll call it... classical music is a bad name. That's basically my point, right? Classical music is a certain period of music, right? I know nothing about classical music, but I do like it. But I'm not keen on the actual classical period. And I think what happens is two things. Someone like Bach is writing music, exploring this newly found technology of harmony, and he's getting inside the harmony, right? And exploring it. And it's almost atonal. People think that atonalism was invented, but it's not. Bach's exploring absolutely everything, and it's absolutely incredible. But at the same time, he's doing this in the service of the world, cosmos, God, whatever you want to. So he sees himself as revealing the beauty of the world in his music. He's not involved in it. He sees himself as a vessel. The classical period, this is going to be proper intellectual stuff now, but this video's got everything. The classical period is a part of a movement which we could call enlightenment. And enlightenment, which I really think is an incredible... I think this is why we live in a reasonable world now as opposed to before, is because the enlightenment values, which suddenly starts to look at the individual. And what happens in music is the individual emerges, right? Mozart, right? Think about Mozart. We know all about Mozart, but Bach's just a name, isn't it? But Mozart, we know what he's like. He's flawed, you know. He's a bit of a scoundrel in a way, because with Mozart, you're listening to Mozart. He's like the playful child prodigy. It's just so easy for me. Music just falls out of my hands. I'm so great. Or the Sisyphus like Beethoven pushing his creativity to create these great things. The symphony is invented. The symphony is not so much about harmony. It's far more about structure. And I can remember chatting to someone who knows much more about music than me. Actually, I'll mention him, John Shepherd, the great John Shepherd, who had been the pianist in the Albion band at some point and ended up being my boss when I first became a teacher. And I said to him once, I don't like Beethoven. And he went, well, you wouldn't. I said, why? He said, because you don't understand it. And I said, what don't I understand? He said, it's all about form. He said, so when Beethoven moves from C major to G major, if you understand that, he goes, that's a great moment. He said, but you're not into that, are you? And I'm not. And so you have this period of classical music. And then in the 19th century, the Romantics come out. And the Romantics are much more about themselves against nature. It's all about existential angst. It's all about standing on top of a mountain in a storm. That's what Romanticism is. And the music starts to change. And within that also, we get the phenomenon of the virtuosos. That separates that. So you get your Chopins and the Paganinis, and they've almost got like a satanic-like virtuosity. But on the other side, we're moving towards sort of the romantic, post-romantic composers. And then we get Debussy, and I love all that. And the 20th century late romantic music. And Schoenberg's, you know... that lake one is beautiful, and they start to get back, and their modernism starts to kick in, and you get them, you know, Rites of Spring, you know, concentrating on rhythm. You get the 12 tone, and you get all that, and I love all that. So there's that little period that I don't like. Now I'm going to be serious. The other day, Rick Beato mentioned Beethoven, and I went to listen to it, and I was like, this is absolutely incredible. So
I say this, and I've put it here. This is not me saying it's absolute rubbish like the other ones. I know classical. I know Mozart's brilliant. My dad used to love Mozart. He used to go around and play that depressing one, the Requiem one. You know, he used to put that on there. He's sitting there crying. I'm going, what's he on about? I don't get it. I absolutely don't get it. You know what makes me cry? Earth, Wind and Fire. If I put that on, that's my thing. James Brown. That's my thing. Charlie Parker. I really am that. I don't get classical music. I just don't get it. Right. That was a shock. At number 10, final. This is the real. This is like going to a bloody church and I'm in the confessional now. There's one style of music I really hate. And it's neo-prog. The style of music that emerged in the early to mid-80s. It was a throwback, a sort of nostalgic throwback to the progressive rock of the 70s. It utilised the sort of energy of punk and the punk aesthetic of a do-it-yourself. It wasn't grand music like Genesis, and yes, this was music that was bombed out in the back rooms of pubs as people railed against the sort of anti-progness that was at the time, and a number of bands emerged at that period. First of all, Pendragon, then Palace, Marillion, IQ, 12th Night, Solstice, a number of bands that emerged at that point. Marillion, for some reason, caught the imagination of the general public, and before they knew it, they became one of the biggest bands of the 1980s, you know, filling stadiums and getting music in the top of the charts, which you would never expected, but they did alter the prog aesthetic to fit in with a sort of 80s production style and middle of the road sort of songwriting approach, coupled with the charisma that Fish undoubtedly had. The best of the neo-prog was probably IQ, who had a greater command, I think, compositionally, and were technically at least more interesting players. And around about 2005, I joined IQ and was their drummer till 2009 for 4 years, playing on the album Frequency. Within that period, I also did a number of session work for various other prog artists. And in that time, I ended up playing with the guys from Pendragon, the guys from Palace. I played with the guys from, obviously, IQ. And I formed a band called Frost with Jem Godfrey. Although I wasn't that creatively involved in that band, I was very proud to be a part of it. Jem Godfrey coming from the sort of pop music end, and he brought in a sort of pop music aesthetic into neo-prog, changing the sound of neo-prog into something I think which is much more palatable, along with a few other bands like Neil Morse and a few other bands like that. And that changed the aesthetic. I grew tired, though, of the sort of pop music sheen that Frost had, and decided to get out of prog in around about 2009, which coincided with me becoming a father and getting a proper job. I was lured back into prog, and I've been doing prog at various levels of success until this YouTube channel started off. And this YouTube channel is built on the audience. In the early days, I had a few people here because they knew me from IQ and they subscribed to the channel. So everything I've got is down to neo-prog in terms of this YouTube channel, in terms of the audience, right? But I have to say that on the whole, right, I'm going to go to this because the entertainment of saying I just don't like it, I actually do like a lot of neo-prog. I even like some Marillion albums, but more the albums with the second guy, H. What's he called? Preparation H? What's his name? I like Palace. In the old days, I loved all this stuff. But there's a certain aspect of neo-prog that I really don't like, and I'm going to try and nail it here because it's what I don't like about modern prog. It seems to suffuse it all, and it's the want for everything to be perfect. It's the lack of a sense of humour that I feel like a lot of the early prog bands have. It's the lack of soul and groove. There's no funk there. Everything is a bit dour, and there's no improvisation whatsoever. And there's no trippiness, and you feel that you're in a although you're playing progressive rock, you are hemmed in by a certain conservative attitude of the audience that listen to it, which actually means that if you do anything actually progressive, they will be out in numbers chanting, "This is not prog, this is not prog." And it's that aspect I don't like about neo-prog. I think that the people who listened to progressive rock in the 70s would have been quite happy to go with whatever those guys came up with. Whatever, because they saw it just being wild and wacky music, and it was. But neo-prog, there's a certain conservatism in there. And it's most... the biggest example of it is Misplaced Childhood by Marillion. And to bring it all together, right? If you bring this all together now, that, what did I call it? Bank manager rock, right? Which I think emerges in with the 80s, could well have emerged with that Misplaced Childhood album. Marillion might have really nailed it. Oh, that was something else, wasn't it? And I'm still under the hour, just coming up 4 minutes to go. Did you like that one? It was so full of events, wasn't it? It was so full of stuff going on. If I get the thumbnail right and I can get the title right, I just got to get a really good title for this. What should I have as the title? I mean, I think if I go the 10 worst music genres the 10 worst music genres, there we go. It could just be that. The 10 worst music genres. Should we just go with that? I feel like I should have something after that just to stoke it up a little bit to get people to really want to watch it. What's going to make you want to click on it? Well, they're clicking on it because they want to see if they agree. But they also want to see whether I've said anything that's contentious so they can get angry. That's the name of the game here. And then hopefully they get they go watch it. They go, well, that was all right. I agreed with him there. I didn't agree with that, but I didn't expect him to choke to death on the moustache. I didn't expect that at all. I really feel like I've gone beyond the Call of Duty with this one. I've got to be honest. So I need to point out about the moustache. So I might put plus near-death experience. Shall we do that? The 10 worst, right? Because I'm going to edit this. So I could now do that. I'm going to do this at the end. So I've got a time loop in it as well because I'm getting into time loops. Because I'm going to be editing this one. But this is genius. So I'm now going to do, at the end of the video, what's at the beginning of the video. And when you watch it, you're going to see this introduction again for the second time. And then the video will finish once I've done that. I'm going to introduce it. It's going to start up. I will introduce it in a fashion that's absolutely amazing. I'm going to say the title of it. Then it will start up, and then you will see the development of the video, right? And you will have a time limit because at the beginning, I'll know about the moustache bit, right? Even though I didn't plan it to happen, right? And then you can go away and ponder the nature of time and knowing and memory. It's got everything. It's even got philosophy in it. It's the greatest video I've ever made. This surpasses the 10 most annoying musicians. This is better. This is better. I knew it when I came here today. I'll tell you what it is. Bacon sandwich, jam donut, cup of coffee. And I mean, this is what happened last time. Right, so you're ready for this. Right, you're ready for this, okay? Right, I've got to get a bit so I can edit onto. How should I start it? What zone should I be in? I feel like I should be more framed like that. Maybe I should be like Christ. Do you think that's a way of starting it like this? No, that's a bit Michael Jackson, isn't it? Don't like that. What about that? Proggers love that. And then you'll be thinking, why does he start like that? But when you get to the end of the video, find out why. Right, are you ready? Let's go. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to one of the greatest videos I have ever made in the history of this channel. This video is called The 10 Worst Music Genres plus a near-death experience. And if you think I'm lying and just saying that to bring you here, what you're about to see, I have never attempted on the channel before. Please get your cup of tea, get your biscuits, sit down, make yourself comfortable, and get ready for my greatest video of all time.
Als je deze in de gaten bent, ja, je ziet elke dag